There's an article labeled, "Do You Know the Signs of Vitamin D Deficiency?" And I think that this information is more important than ever before. And I'll explain to you as we go through this article as to why that is. But if you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to do so and hit that notification bell, because subscribes don't really mean anything on YouTube anymore. You have to hit that notification bell if you want to be alerted when I release new content. So be sure to do that. Give this video a thumbs up, and let's put some of your thoughts down in the comments section below, because the more you comment, the more it helps to get this video out. So, do you know the signs of vitamin D deficiency? A lack of sunshine vitamin is linked to fatigue, aching muscles, and dozens of other symptoms, okay? First of all, many people are suffering from a vitamin D deficiency. I think this is something that is incredibly important to realize. I mean, I can't tell you how often I run blood work on people and they have a vitamin D deficiency, and then how often someone comes in and they have all these crazy symptoms, and I'm like, you have to be tested for vitamin D, because there's no point in trying to go down the rabbit hole and chase down all these symptoms you're having when it literally could just be a vitamin D deficiency. Now, in general, if you're not getting 30 minutes of sunlight hitting your skin every single day, you likely have a vitamin D deficiency. Now, I live in a cold climate. I live in Michigan. Most people here have this deficiency because they don't spend a lot of time outdoors, even when the sun is shining. And then half the year, you don't have the option to spend time out in the sunshine. So you have to make sure that you're getting adequate amounts of vitamin D. It's incredibly important. And if you think to yourself, well, no, I don't really spend that much time in the sunlight every day, then you got to be thinking, I need to supplement with vitamin D. Now, what this article shows based on research, about 41.6% of people in the U.S. population have a vitamin D deficiency. And then later on in this article, the author goes on to say that he believes that 80% of people have a vitamin D deficiency, which I would tend to believe that. I would say that 80% of the people that I test have this deficiency. Now, I think that more people are going to have it where I live versus people in Florida or Arizona or maybe Texas. However, it's definitely something that needs to be taken seriously, because there's so many people who have simple deficiencies like this, and they're going to the doctors, and the doctors are just putting them on a whole pile of prescription medications without actually checking vitamin D. Vitamin D is incredibly important, but let's look at the 14 signs that you might have a vitamin D deficiency. First of all, aching muscles. This is a huge one, and I always refer to fibromyalgia as an absolute junk diagnosis, because I can't tell you how many patients have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia because they literally just have aching muscles everywhere, and then I test them and they have a vitamin D deficiency. Recently, I had a patient come in. He is shooting pains. He has aches all over the place. It's constant. He has a hard time sleeping because he aches so much. I said, we have to check your vitamin D. Sure enough, a deficiency is going to be right around 50. His vitamin D was at 25, so very low. So we got him on a very high dose of about 10,000 IUs of vitamin D a day, and he's already doing much better. Aching muscles is another one. Or the first one, painful bones, is the next one on our list. The vitamin D regulates the level of calcium in your body necessary to protect bone health. Vitamin D deficiency can cause your bones to soften, and this is called osteomalacia. Okay, this is a precursor to osteoporosis, which we hear a lot of people having osteoporosis as they age. So once again, I can't tell you how important it is to have adequate amounts of vitamin D. Fatigue is another one that's very common, and a lot of people notice that in the wintertime, when they're not getting any sun and it's cold out, they just have fatigue all the time. Okay, so we have to make sure that we're getting plenty of vitamin D if you're someone who's experiencing fatigue. There was a study using 174 adults with fatigue and stable medical conditions. The research found that 77.2% were deficient in vitamin D. After normalizing their level, the fatigue symptoms improve significantly. Okay, take it seriously if you're somebody who's constantly fatigued. Once again, in modern society, we don't look to the root cause, so we actually look to always put band-aids on things. This is where people just pour enormous amounts of caffeine on the body going, work. You know, they just keep kicking the body as it can't work because it has problems like vitamin D deficiencies. And obviously, there's a lot of other vitamins and reasons that you can have fatigue, but vitamin D is definitely one that is just so simple. And that's one of the things I want to push to you. It's so simple to take vitamin D every day. It's inexpensive and is one of those things that can really drastically improve your life. Reduced muscle performance. Okay, this kind of falls along the same lines as somebody who has fatigue, somebody who has constant aches. Okay, I mean, reduced muscle performance, you're just weak. You find that if you're exercising, you can't go very long without fatiguing out. So those are the things that we want to look for. Now, brain health is a big one. Vitamin D is essential for your brain health. Symptoms of deficiency can include dementia caused by an increase of soluble and insoluble beta amyloid, a factor in Alzheimer's disease. Research has also found an association with depression. This is so important. Many people in northern and cold and cloudy climates face depression, and they have vitamin D issues. So they also say here that it may be linked to the function of vitamin D buffering higher levels of calcium in the brain. Okay, vitamin D deficiency in pregnant women can increase the risk of autism and schizophrenic-like disorders in the baby. That's incredible. One study of people with fibromyalgia found that vitamin D deficiency was more common in those who had anxiety and depression. Another looked at vitamin D deficiency in those subjects and found relationship between low levels of vitamin D and depression. Want to make sure that if you want your brain to work and you're experiencing brain fog and many other symptoms, get on that vitamin D. It's very important. Poor sleep is another one. The mechanism linking vitamin D and poor sleep quality hasn't been identified, but research found that people with low levels of vitamin D have poor quality of sleep and higher risk of sleep disorders. Look at how many people are using like CPAP machines. Look at how many people have some sleep-related disorder. We have to make sure that we are hitting this low-hanging fruit. It's so important. Sweaty head, okay? Excessive sweating, especially on your head, or a change in your pattern of sweating can indicate vitamin D deficiency. I don't see this one much. I'm not going to lie. I don't see too many people walking around with sweaty heads, but you know, that's obviously a thing. Hair loss apparently is a big one. Once again, not something that I find to be high on the list of something you're going to realize, but definitely, you know, something you want to pay attention to. Slow healing of wounds. This is a big one. So if you find that, you know, you get scratches, you get cuts, you get different wounds on your body, and they just don't seem to go away, it could be a vitamin D deficiency. Dizziness. Evidence from animal models suggests that vitamin D is critical in the development of the inner ear, which affects balance and coordination. Analysis of people with vestibular neuritis characterized by vertigo show low serum vitamin D levels than in people without vestibular neuritis. Okay, so if you're somebody who has a problem with vertigo, definitely look to vitamin D. It's important. And then heart problems. Clinical studies shown that vitamin D3 improves circulation and can help improve high blood pressure. Okay, this is one of those things where I said somebody comes in and they have a whole bunch of different symptoms, and you're like, geez, you know, like, okay, we could chase all these things down in the realm of natural health. You could take this vitamin and that vitamin, you just start piling them on, but we have to look at what at a core level can we do that will make the biggest change across the entire body, and vitamin D would be one of the things you'd be thinking of. In one study, researchers discovered that vitamin D3 also has a significant effect on the endothelial cells that line your cardiovascular system. They found that it helped balance concentrations of nitric acid and the peroxynitrate, which improved endothelial function. It's also important to realize that vitamin D plays a huge role in your overall cholesterol. Okay, so if you have somebody who has high cholesterol and they have low vitamin D levels, you're totally missing out on helping them balance out their cholesterol. Excess weight, vitamin D affects obesity, the way it does so hasn't been identified. However, the data shows there's a high probability of deficiency in people who are obese. You know, you can just start kind of drawing some conclusions how it could affect the thyroid and the brain, and it could affect your metabolism and different hormones. I mean, vitamin D is very important. Reoccurring infections, okay? This is a big problem that I see a lot right now. I think vitamin D does play a huge role in this just because how important it is for your overall immune system, but on the same hand, we have to really look to the microbiome, and that's looking at the bacteria on your skin, on your gut, and make sure that we have a strong and stable microbiome, because that plays a huge role in reoccurring infections too. So that means that we want to go and take things like probiotics and use probiotic supported lotions as well. What I'll do is I'll put a link to the sponsor of the video that supports me doing all of this, and in there you can find like skin probiotics, you can find of course vitamin D's, and you can find good probiotics that you can consume that support a healthy gut. And by taking probiotics, you improve your immune system. Now, the other thing vitamin D does is they found that it reduced cognitive function when at a deficiency. Data shows that vitamin D deficiency increases your risk of dementia twofold. Holy cow. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And raises your risk of impaired cognitive function. Okay, take this seriously. I'm telling you, it's vitamin D. It's so easy to take. Now, COVID-19 and vitamin D deficiency. This has been very interesting looking at this, because what I find is that people who are getting COVID and are just getting hit really hard by it, or they literally can't overcome it very well, it's some of the same people who have a vitamin D deficiency. Around 80% of people with COVID-19 are deficient in vitamin D. There was a study or a paper that came out that basically was talking about how most of the people who were being admitted to hospitals had vitamin D deficiencies, whereas like, you know, people who got COVID and they just overcame it without a problem, just in the comfort of their home, they did not have these same deficiencies. Now, vitamin D plays an important role in the development and the severity of many diseases. This is why. From the very beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, I suspected that optimizing vitamin D levels would significantly lower the incidence of infection and death in the general population. I talked about that so much, and I have pushed that since day one, because I know how important it is. You know, all the silliness of the government telling people to, you know, distance and masks and all this stuff. What they never told people to do is how to improve their baseline health, and what they never told people is that's the only thing that truly mattered, right? Instead, they told everybody to go and hide under their mattress, whereas there's no true and real information teaching people how to improve their immune system, take vitamin D. I mean, where's the basic level common sense in this world anymore? Since then, mounting evidence has revealed this is indeed the case, as research has repeatedly found that higher levels of vitamin D reduce the rate of positive tests, hospitalization, and mortality related to this infection. Okay, very, very interesting, and I think that is something that we have to really take into consideration and take it very seriously. Recently, data showed people who received supplemental vitamin D3 while hospitalized with COVID-19 had reduced admissions to the ICU by 82% and reduced mortality by 64%. I mean, this is incredible. Where is the National Institute of Health telling people to take their vitamin D? Well, you know what? You can't make a whole lot of money on vitamin D, so the CDC is not interested in it. The NIH isn't interested in it. The government bodies who are being lobbied, they aren't interested in it. Nobody's interested in vitamin D because of this reason. Now, I just want to go into vitamin D, talk about that for a second. If you're going to take vitamin D, this is the one that I take right here. It is vitamin D3, so it is the active form, making it highly bioavailable. It also is with K2. K2 is very good, helping it be absorbed properly, whereas people who have K2 deficiencies, when you take the vitamin D, you may not even be absorbing it very well. So you want to do the vitamin D3 with the K2, and the other thing too is you want it to be source good. A lot of people will go find the cheapest vitamin D that they possibly can, and the problem with that is that much of it is coming from like a soybean oil, and you don't want to be taking it from just a plain old soybean oil. You can use it from olive oil, which is one of the best sources, but the problem is it gets a little bit pricey. You're going to typically find like an olive oil based vitamin D is going to be somewhere around like $40, whereas you can get one like this and is using a fermented soy, a much better quality, right? So you can use soy if it's fermented, not just regular though, and therefore you can get that vitamin D level up. Now, in this particular bottle right here, let's look at the supplement facts. We're looking at about 5,000 IUs a day. I recommend 5,000 IUs a day, especially for those people who are in cloudy climates. Recently, I had somebody who had a big deficiency, and I put them right to 10,000 IUs a day in order to help them get their levels up. up. So vitamin D3K2, and this is the one that I use right here, and it is our sponsor of the show, which makes me able to do this for you. Do you take vitamin D? How much do you take every day? Put in the comments below, and also let me know if you ever found that you had many of these symptoms that I had mentioned in this article and then taken vitamin D and overcame them. I'm very interested to know that. Let me know in the comments below, and then also check out some other videos on this channel.